What do you do when your hero gives up? Maybe you don't know until he looks you in the eye and raises his blade.
For your next fight.
Have you lost it? Stop it!
Someone's waiting for you, no?
Angeal, don't do this.
This scene is one of the most beautiful and emotional scenes in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, and yet it is overlooked by a lot of the players. I think that the reason for that is that Angeal is misunderstood as a character by most people. Thus, my mission today is to analyze this scene in order for you to understand the depth of Angeal as a character. And I promise you, at the end of this video, this scene will hit you in the chest.
In the last video, we saw that Angeal was going through an identity crisis caused by the loss of his honor. An honor that was instilled by a company that betrayed him. The dangers of identifying yourself by your job. I also ended last video by saying that Angeal's future challenge would be to redefine this honor to find a new sense of self, a new sense of identity. And will he succeed in that endeavor? That's what we're going to see today. So, what happened since the last scene? Since Angeal revealed his wing and explained his struggle to Zack before discarding him, he actually came back to fight alongside Zack, claiming he has to protect his honor at least as long as he holds the Buster Sword. As such, there's a back and forth of Angeal's mind presented to us. One of them is an illusion when it comes to Soldier, and getting back to an idea of Soldier honor, which also allows him to fight alongside Zack and Sephiroth once again. The other is nihilism, as it was presented to us in the last scene. Needless to say, Angeal's mind is not stable at all. Even when he's on the side of our protagonist, he states that he sometimes feels like his mind is mired in fog. Sometime after this, Angeal visited the 5th Sector slum and met Aerith, Zack's lover. Entrusting her to support his friend in the future, he leaves one of the monster copies of himself in Aerith's church for protection. He also gives the information that his childhood friend gone rogue, Genesis, is based in Modioheim to Soldier, before disappearing once again. As such, we left Angeal in pretty good dispositions on the protagonist's side, easing our worries. Zack is then sent to Modioheim to deal with Genesis, and after doing so, he is informed that Angeal has also been sighted there. As he's looking for his mentor, Zack finds Cloud and Song, Shinra comrades, in a ruin nearby. They've both been injured by Angeal, who is still in the building, waiting for Zack, and that is how the scene begins. We get the final confirmation that Angeal changed side and is not on Zack's side anymore. But what exactly does he mean by preparing Zack for his next fight? He already wanted to fight Zack last time, but why? As our doubts are confirmed, the music starts, a heavy piano and other strings-oriented piece that feels very chaotic, with piano and violins alternating places in the main melody, answering each other in a storm of sound. A musical piece that reflects the experience of an identity crisis, for just the same as when there's void created in space, that void is quickly covered with explosions, same as the mind that is quickly filled with chaos, thus Angeal's shifting erratic mind.
Stop it!
Someone's waiting for you, no?
That line is quite interesting because it's a very chilling threat to receive from a friend. He obviously talks about Aerith by saying so, and it can mean two things. One, he's threatening to harm Aerith if Zack backs out from the fight, which, knowing Angeal, is the least likely of the two. Two, he's threatening Zack directly by saying, if you don't kill me now, I will kill you, and someone that you love will lose a lover and a protector, so you better fucking take this seriously. We don't know why he's confronting Zack in such a manner, but now we know. He's determined to go through with whatever he's doing. We then learn that Hollander, the scientist responsible for Angeal's mutations, is actually Angeal's biological father, but I don't think it's very important. What's important, however, is Angeal's reaction to the thought, which is a violent rejection. There is a lot of anger and resentment for the authors of the lie that destroyed his identity, as you would expect. A more important information that we learn, however, is that Angeal's mother wasn't killed, but committed suicide. It wasn't Angeal's doing. It does frame the character in a softer way. In a very Hojo fashion, Hollander is rambling as if he was in his own bubble, and neither Zack or Angeal was there. This shot of Hollander from above really shows that deluded side, as if he was talking to a deity that his creation allowed him to reach. Though he's quickly grounded by Angeal's resentment.
Zack, I am perfect.
Wow, how humble.
A perfect monster.
Oh.
My cells can absorb genetic traits and pass them along to others.
Those are fancy powers that Jenova gave him, but it also undoubtedly makes him closer and closer to what Jenova is. It literally gives Angeal the ability to communicate his will to monsters, but also to absorb monsters, which means that in theory he could become a monster at his will, which blurs the line between the monster and human identity that he's struggling with and makes us understand him a lot more. If I was able to do the things he did and if I was what he was, I too would probably have doubt about my human identity.
Zack, do you remember what I said about our enemy being all that creates suffering?
Yeah. But you're not one of them.
But I created my own suffering.
This is such a sad line, full of self-blame, inner conflict, and sorrow. Because with this line we understand that unlike Genesis, Angeal blames himself first and foremost before he even blames Shinra. How ironic, Angeal cannot find substance in order to define who he is, except for one element, the fact that he's to blame. And we arrive at the conclusion of this identity torment. Angeal absorbs monsters in order to force Zack to fight him and to put him down. This monster that is the result of this absorption is called Angeal Penance. Not only that, all of his attacks are named after the 7 deadly sins. The guilt and self-loathing pours from every pore of his character. And the Christian hints reminds us of that same notion in the Christian ways. We're all sinners by nature. It's especially sad for Angeal because he was betrayed by an organization that made him believe in a certain identity and order of things, if you will. As such, representing Angeal in a Christian way almost justifies his self-loathing due to how Christians see mankind. It can also be interpreted as his suffering is the penance for the harm his inner conflict has inflicted on others, and Zack's slashes are as well. Until the end, everything points him towards death's door.
Zack, you have my thanks. This is for you. Protect your honor, always. Embrace your dreams. If you want to be a hero, you need to have dreams and honor.
And thus ends Angeal's life. We now have a visual representation of what was happening inside, the soul of a man that is withered by nihilism. But his legacy is just beginning. This legacy, along with the Buster Sword, will live through Zack and then Cloud after that. And with this legacy, the challenge of redefining this honor in order to find an identity that suits the person will be passed on to Zack and Cloud. It will be their challenge to redefine that honor in order to find a reason to protect the people that they love, to protect the planet, to find that code, that moral code, and to have a better sense of self than Angeal ultimately had. Short-sighted way though, Angeal's death is one of the biggest elements that will make Zack re-question his identity as a soldier. And what a brutal manner in order to introduce that, because Angeal was basically like, look, this is what Shinra made me, this is what soldier made me. You are better than this. So yes, Angeal didn't find the strength, and in the end he gave up, but he still gave the tools to his friend in order to succeed where he failed. Whether it is through that or Angeal's copies having an unexplainable will to help Zack at all times, it shines the light on a very tragic fact. Angeal's honor was there all along. It was just in Grasp's reach. His will from the live stream proves it, but he couldn't find it in his living, and a lot of sadness was brought to the world because of it. It's almost as if his character arc actually ended after his death in the afterlife, in the live stream, for that is where he actually finally found himself. But he can rest in peace now. He influenced and shaped Zack in a very positive way, who in turn will influence Cloud in a very positive way, who will save the world, and will actually save the world from one of Angeal's biggest failures in life. Sephiroth, because he wasn't the friend that Sephiroth needed. But for the moment, it is time for mourning. Zack failed to save his friend, and as you can imagine, the hurt is not easy to overcome. Angeal's death marks the halfway point of the story, before Zack grows older, more assured, more responsible, strengthening his bond with Aerith and starting to re-question himself and Soldier. Remember my initial question? What do you do when your hero gives up? Like Zack, you pick up what he couldn't carry and make it your own, and you learn from his mistakes. If you feel lost, if you lost purpose, if you don't know who you are anymore, keep fighting. Seek help. It's right there, right at your reach. Be what feels right. Angeal found out in the afterlife so that we could find out now.